A record number of Americans are afraid of losing their jobs. It is a Biden-Harris miracle. Recently, the New York Fed released their latest survey of consumer expectations that found the number of Americans who expect to lose their job in the next few months is at a, quote, record high at nearly 1 in 20 workers. The series only goes back to 2014 when the economy was crawling back from the 2008 crisis, but is currently higher than 2014 when official unemployment was nearly 7%. In fact, it's worse than the height of COVID when official unemployment was in double digits. This matters because people generally know when their job is at risk, when sales are down, profits are down, or there's too many unemployed workers competing for the job. Now, there's another metric that goes further back to 2001 called quit rates from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That one measures how many people quit their job. The logic is when people stop quitting, it means jobs are scarce. People are afraid to quit. That one's actually worse than we saw in early 2008, right before that crisis. By the way, quits had been holding up until late last year, perhaps because millions of people went on welfare during COVID, so the population of marginal workers got drained. So for people timing the recession, quits suggests late last year is when the recession started. Interestingly, the Fed survey also found that average reservation wage, which is econ jargon for the minimum salary a worker will accept to get off the couch, that has risen by a third since COVID. In fact, it's up 40% for women, suggesting that inflation is not the 21% officially reported. It's closer to the 35 plus we see in real-world price measures, or for that matter, real-world receipts people post online. I mentioned in previous videos that if inflation is higher, it means we could already be in recession potentially for years. To see why, according to government numbers, the GDP grew from $22 trillion pre-COVID to $28.5 trillion today. That's about 30% in 5 years. Thing is, if you knock off inflation, it drops to $25 trillion, which is about 9% in 5 years. 9% is pretty rough considering we spent $11 trillion in deficits to buy that growth. Plus, who knows how much of it is a statistical mirage from migrants. I mentioned before how native-born Americans, including native-born immigrants, have had zero job growth since 2018. Also keep in mind, importing a welfare case, most illegals are on welfare, shows up as GDP. After all, they cost about $450 billion per year, according to a congressional report, and anything spent is GDP. Of course, it's not making us richer, it's GDP that is making us poorer. The problem is, what if inflation was not 21% like they say? What if it was actually 35% like reservation wages and Five Guys receipts say? In that case, the economy didn't grow by 9%, it actually shrank. It got bigger on paper, but prices went up even faster. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Even if government inflation numbers are true, we've been stagnant for 5 years. If the numbers are lying, we've actually been losing ground. That'd be a fairly shocking result after those $11 trillion in deficits, and 5 years would be the longest decline since the 1930s. Even Jimmy Carter's 1970s hellscape only managed 3 lost years at a time. So depending on true inflation, we may have already topped that. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.